So apparently I've been pronouncing this title wrong the entire time. It's not Suzume, it's Suzume. Whoops. And the way I kept reminding myself that Suzume is I just thought that little cat saying in the trailer like, Suzume?
Suzume?
Disaster comes.
Hi there.
Oh, before I get started, I guess I should do something really quickly. Suzume is the newest film from director Makoto Shinkai, and it's about, of course, Suzume, who helps a mysterious young man close doors from the other side that are releasing disasters all over Japan. I remember late last year, a friend of mine asked me, what is a movie you are really anticipating for this year that's not like a big blockbuster or anything? And my immediate response was, this, 100% this, and maybe Shelby Oaks. I don't know if that's coming out this year yet or not. I remember when I first got the trailer for this, it was in front of One Piece Red, and at first, I had no idea what it was because I never saw it before. But then when Makoto Shinkai's name popped up, I was immediately like, sold. Don't even have to show me the rest, I'm already sold. And then I saw it in front of every other anime movie I had to go see. And he was honestly the main reason I wanted to see this movie. Because I love Your Name, I love Arguing With You, I think Children of Lost Voices is pretty good, and that's not the name of it. What is it? What is that movie called? Children of what? Children Who Chase Lost Voices, I think is what it's called. But the other one I saw was like something per second. I don't remember. That one wasn't that good. But when it comes to Suzume, did it live up to my hype and probably every anime nerd's hype? Yes. Without a doubt, this movie did not disappoint me one bit. I love the hell out of it. Right when this movie starts off, you can immediately tell that Makoto Shinkai seems to have a love for Studio Ghibli. From the characters, to the world building, to some of the scenarios that the characters are put into, you can tell that this is kind of his love letter to those movies in a way. And it's very obvious with certain things, like how the town is called Miyazaki, somebody mentions Whisper of the Heart at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I swear to God at one point, they played the song from the opening of Kiki's delivery service. I also really did like our two main leads a lot, Suzume and Sato. They're very well written, there's a lot of great banter between the two, and as the movie goes on, you do get very invested in their relationship, even though it is kind of weird how it's between a girl and a chair. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this guy gets turned into a chair, and he's a chair through a majority of the movie.
You're in the way. Goodbye.
What the hell's going on?
Where are you going? No.
It is also really funny how the villain of the movie is just this cute little kitten, which by the way raised the question, what is with animated movies recently and cute little psychos? Let's just get this out of the way because you know it's coming. The animation in this movie is just fucking gorgeous. The hand-drawn animation is just breathtaking, the CG animation's pretty good, and it does mix well with the hand-drawn stuff. And it is the main reason to see this movie in theaters, especially if you have an IMAX screen around you, because I know it's showing in IMAX right now. The movie also does have a really good story. At first it does seem like it is kind of repeating itself, with them going somewhere, looking for the cat, they meet someone, and then they lock the door, which I was okay with. But then halfway through, something happens that then puts the story in a different direction, and that got me even more invested in the movie. I also did just love seeing an original anime movie in theaters again, and not just one based off of an existing show of some sort. But in the end, I thought Suzume was just great. It's got a really good story, some memorable characters, and just stellar animation, and I'm gonna be honest, so far, it might be my favorite movie of the year. Yeah, I'm not joking. I already kinda wanna go see this movie again. I saw the dub version tonight, maybe I'll go see the sub version the next time. And I'm gonna give Suzume a very much deserved A+. So yeah, if you go see any movie this weekend, go see Suzume. Even if you've never seen anime or you're not an anime fan, you might actually like this one.
This place is magical.
It's like a dream.
Engineers turn dreams into reality.
For the past few years now, Fathom Events has been doing a special lineup called Studio Ghibli Fest, in which they will show a movie from Studio Ghibli on the big screen for a few nights once a month. So I have mentioned this a handful of times before, I do like anime, but I am definitely not obsessed with it whatsoever. But obviously, I have seen a handful of things. And when it comes to Studio Ghibli, not only do I just fucking adore it, but I cannot get enough of it. Anytime I rewatch one of these movies, it always puts me in a good mood, and there's just something really comforting about them. Some of these I would go as far as saying are some of my favorite movies, and Hayao Miyazaki is hands down one of my all-time favorite directors. And I don't just mean in animation, I mean in general. I love these movies and this company so much that last year I went and watched all the Studio Ghibli Fest, and at the end of the lineup, the theater that I went to let me have the standee, which was really cool. I even have this book called The Art of Spirited Away, which is just a bunch of animations from the movie. And back in theaters for its 35th anniversary for 5 days only is the very iconic My Neighbor Totoro, and this was my first time seeing it in theaters. One thing I should probably mention though is that I did not grow up with the Studio Ghibli movies whatsoever. There was only 3 I was aware that even existed when I was younger, and that was Ponyo, Secret World of Arrietty, and My Neighbor Totoro. And honestly, how can you not know what Totoro was? It was everywhere. But I definitely remember the first time I ever saw an image for this movie. My grandma used to have this old VHS copy of Snoopy Come Home, and there was an ad before the movie promoting other Fox movies, and one of them was My Neighbor Totoro. Oh yeah, I guess there was this weird point where Fox owned this movie for a while before Disney did. But even if you've never seen this movie before, you have definitely seen it referenced somewhere. The 2 I can think of off the top of my head are South Park and Bob's Burgers. South Park did it with Cthulhu, and Bob's Burgers did it with a talking turkey named Lance. And I can definitely say I like this movie a lot, but I wouldn't say it's my personal favorite Ghibli movie. It's not really one of those that's got much of a plot or any big dilemmas, sort of. It's just a nice, simple, slice-of-life film with some fantasy elements here and there. And you know what? Every once in a while, I do like a little movie with a very simple story or like no story at all. Sometimes you just need a really laid-back movie that's not trying to be anything grand or epic, but just really relaxing, and this is one of those movies that just makes you feel nostalgic for childhood and what it was like to be a kid. It really made me think of something like Bluey, where it's got such a childlike innocence to it that it can be enjoyed by both kids and adults, and it's so harmless and cute that you can't help but just have a big smile on your face while watching it. The 2 girls in the movie are played by the Fanning sisters, and that was just a great choice. They work very well off of each other, and they don't really feel like co-actors whatsoever. They actually feel like sisters. And just like all Ghibli films, the animation here is absolutely beautiful. The color, the backgrounds, and definitely the character designs, especially that cat bus, are just spectacular. This movie was done using only traditional hand-drawn animation, and every frame to me just feels like a work of art. And I know Studio Ghibli movies are very much in the anime category, but they really do feel like their own thing. Like they're not doing big expressions or exaggerated animation, they act like, for lack of a better term, normal hand-drawn movies. They're basically the anime equivalent of Pixar in a way, which is funny because Pixar does take a lot of inspiration from Studio Ghibli. Don't believe me? Watch Only Yesterday and Turning Red back to back. They almost feel like the same movie, with a few differences here and there. Okay, some major differences. One movie doesn't have a character turning into a red panda. Which actually, now that I think about it, Turning Red was more anime than Only Yesterday was. I also really like how they let you decide whether or not Totoro is real. Like, is he in the girls' imaginations, or does he actually live in that tree and stuff? I mean, it is true most of the time that they do see Totoro, the next moment they'll be fast asleep, but he does show up during the climax where he helps them out when they are clearly awake. Okay, so really I have nothing new to say about this movie that you haven't heard a million times before, but I do just want to rip on one thing. Okay, not really a thing, one character, and it's the dad. I want to rip on the dad for a second. So don't get me wrong, he's a good dad and whatnot. He feeds these girls, he takes care of them, he sends them to school, whatnot. But it seems like any time one of them runs off, particularly the youngest one, he never knows where the hell they're at. Like early on in the movie, the youngest one wanders off and finds Totoro, but then the other one gets home from school, and what the hell is the dad doing? He's dozed off, and he has no idea where his daughter's at. And then later on, the youngest one runs off again, and nobody knows where she is gone, and like the whole neighborhood is losing their minds trying to find this girl, besides one person, the dad. Where the hell's the dad? Okay, sure, it is true that he is visiting his sick wife in the hospital at this point in time, but if one person was to at least get in contact with him, I think she would understand and be like, go find her fucking kid. But wait a minute, there is a scene where they have to get a telegram because the mom is not doing the greatest and they have to go get a phone because they don't have a phone. Okay, maybe I'm thinking about this a little too hard. Never mind. Forget everything I just said. But I still think My Neighbor Totoro is a great movie for all ages, and honestly, if you're wanting to give anime a shot, Studio Ghibli movies are a great starting point. And if you're curious to know if it's worth it to see all these Studio Ghibli movies in theaters or not, yes. 100%, especially if you're an animation fan like I am. These are worth it to see on the big screen. And I'm definitely going to give My Neighbor Totoro an A. I also very much got to acknowledge something. Look at this poster. Clearly the little girl on there is the two girls morphed into one.
This is weird, right?
This place is magical.
It's like a dream.
Engineers turn dreams into reality.
For the past few years now, Fathom Events has been doing a special lineup called Studio Ghibli Fest, in which they will show a movie from Studio Ghibli on the big screen for a few nights once a month. And for the first time released in North America, it's Spirited Away Live on Stage, which is a stage production of Hayao Miyazaki's Oscar-winning film of the same name. And no matter what I think of this, I'm pretty sure we can all agree on one thing. That is the scariest fucking thumbnail I've made this far. That is nightmare fuel. It's scarier to me than it is to you. Why? It's like somebody's wearing my face! I originally had another one where I just stand in the middle of it, but no, I showed this to some people and they were all like, you gotta use that thumbnail. And I will admit, it is really weird to be talking about Spirited Away the stage show before talking about Spirited Away the movie. And also, this is my first time talking about something like this, so keep that in mind. But I was also really excited to see this because Spirited Away is one of my favorite movies. I will start off with saying that the entire production of this does look incredible. All the costumes are very well made, and they're all damn near identical to what the characters wore in the movie, to where it's almost uncanny in a way. I thought the sets were also very well made, and some of them do take inspiration from the sets of Hamilton, and they did a great job of trying to make the scenes play out exactly like they do in the movie. But there are obviously things that happen in the animated movie that they can't really do in a stage production. A great example is the scene where Shakiro turns transparent or like see-through. All they did for that scene was throw a clear blanket over her. Another thing they did, and I'm guessing this is so the actors' feet don't get cold, because through a majority of this they are barefoot, like in the movie. So they gave them these weird socks or shoes, I don't know what they are, but they look like human Ninja Turtle feet. And with a lot of these characters not being human or human-like, such as like the radish spirit or that frog that No-Face eats, they had to make some puppets or giant costumes, and those all looked great, and the actors did a great job of bringing those characters to life. And I might be alone on this, but Kumaji the Boiler Guy, in this production, was I the only one who thought he kind of looked like a mix of Howie Mandel and Jim Carrey from Sonic 2? And in some of the scenes where Yubaba is supposed to be like freaking huge, instead of just having her go close up to the girl playing Shakiro, they had this like giant puppet of her face. And it's legit really goddamn freaky. Freakier than this. Actually, no, that's a lie. Never mind. I regret that. Speaking of actors, everyone does an outstanding job in their performances. Now they are showing two different versions though, where the role of Shakiro is swapped. The version I saw had actress Kana Hashimoto, and she did an amazing job at portraying Shakiro. Okay, so that's all great and whatnot, but this is 35 minutes longer than the actual movie. So you're probably wondering, what did they add in to make this longer than the movie? Well, really? Not much. I'll first start off with saying this. It's a good thing they call this live on stage and not the musical, because they do try adding some songs into this production, but they're not really musical numbers. The best way I can explain it is like how Guillermo del Toro explained the songs in his version of Pinocchio. It's not a musical, it's a movie with musical moments. Or in this case, it's not a musical, it's a stage production with musical moments. It is also very by the number with the movie, from beginning to end. There isn't much different from what they do in the movie, and it's not like there's any scenes that are expanded on. The only thing I can think of is that they did have a scene where No-Face, for no reason whatsoever, just starts dancing, and it's entirely pointless. Not to say that the dancing isn't good, but there's really no point to it, and it just comes out of nowhere. Say what you want about the dancing in something like Megan, but that worked with the movie's not too serious tone, so it would make sense that she would start dancing for no reason. And I want to see something like the No-Face dance becoming a dance craze like the Megan dance did. But whatever, I guess you need to make your play longer somehow. And the only other thing that makes it longer is they have all the actors come out at the end and take a bow. I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh wait, I completely forgot. No-Face isn't the only one that gets a dance number. You know that lamp that hops to Shakiro at the end that has like a glove on the bottom of it? It gets a dance sequence. It's about as pointless as No-Face and Megan dancing. There were also a few little changes they made here and there. For instance, No-Face has an actual name, which I'm actually okay with because you know how many times I've accidentally called him Ghostface in the past? And I'm probably not the only one. Probably the weirdest change though is, you know the scene where Haku returns and he's all bloody and whatnot, and they're trying to fix him up in the boiler room? And then, like, a little bit later, Shakira runs off and has to deal with No Face. Right when she leaves, Haku immediately wakes up, and I'm just like, did they just not want to do that later on for some reason? Because it doesn't work as well as it did in the movie, where he wakes up later on after the train scene. But in the end, I really enjoyed the stage version of Spirited Away. If you love the movie as much as I do, you should definitely give this a watch. I'm totally cool with something like this, but for the love of God, never pull a Disney into a live-action movie version of Spirited Away. It's already too perfect. But, and I can already hear some of you being like, oh no, what? So when it comes to recorded movie versions of these stage plays, I don't like them as much because I don't get the same effect as if I'm seeing them live in person. So it did ruin this just a little bit for me. I may have praised it, but there were a few points where I was getting bored, and I should not be getting bored at watching Spirited Away. But then I do gotta stop and think, if it wasn't for the Disney Plus Hamilton, or the DVD version of the stage play of Cats, or this, I never would have gotten to see these, especially this one since it's all the way over in Japan. But I'm gonna give Spirited Away live on stage an A-.
Here we go!
This place is magical.
It's like a dream.
Engineers turn dreams into reality.
For the past few years now, Fathom Events has been doing a special lineup called Studio Ghibli Fest, in which they'll show a movie from Studio Ghibli on the big screen for a few nights once a month. And back in theaters as part of this year's lineup, it's Kiki's Delivery Service, which is directed by the great Hayao Miyazaki, and is probably a movie your super religious grandma wouldn't let you watch because the movie involves
Witchcraft.
And I did get a chance to see some theaters last year. Yeah, I couldn't make it to it this year because the one showtime I could go to, I was busy, so couldn't make it. But I'm like, I own the movie on Blu-ray, I could just watch it at home. Plus, that means I don't gotta pay Fathom event prices. But since I did get to see the movie in theaters last year, I do gotta show you guys something funny. So, you know how on movie tickets, they always gotta cut the title off because it can't fit the full title on the ticket? So, with this being an anime movie, they gotta be showing the dubbed and the subbed version, so they couldn't fit Kiki's Delivery Service onto the full ticket. Look what it came out to though. Kiki's D! Jesus Christ. I gotta love that, and this is probably my favorite ticket stub I've kept just because of that. I do remember when I first watched this movie though. I had just watched Spirited Away for the first time, and I was so blown away with how good that movie was that I knew I had to watch every other movie from this company. So right after that, I'm pretty sure I rented both Kiki's Delivery Service and Ponyo from my local library. Oh yeah, speaking of Ponyo, I'll explain at the end of this video why I didn't review that. But when it comes to Kiki, in a way, it's a little bit like My Neighbor Totoro, where there's really no story, but there's some supernatural stuff in it. But one big difference between the two movies is that I can see some people not getting into My Neighbor Totoro, but with Kiki's Delivery Service, I honestly think this is one of those movies that is just impossible to hate on, because it's just so sweet and innocent. Have I mentioned before this is one of my favorite animated movies? It's one of my favorite animated movies. I don't know what it is about this little film, but it puts a smile on my face every time I rewatch it. It's just so sweet, wholesome, and cute. It's a really cute movie. And every once in a while, I do love watching a simple slice of life movie with no big dilemmas except for maybe the ending. Right off the bat, Kiki is such a likable character. From beginning to end, you just love watching her fly around, meet new people, and make her little deliveries. And Kirsten Dunst really was perfect casting in this role, and all the other voice actors do a great job as well. But with Kirsten Dunst playing Kiki, this is just where my mind goes sometimes. What if her and Tombo had different dialogue?
I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella.
Peter, that was first grade.
Well, even so, sometimes you know people. I hunch.
Don't.
No surprise here, but the animation is great. With this movie being animated using only hand-drawn animation, it is amazing how they actually make it look like Kiki is flying. They somehow got the perfect angles and movements to make it look like she's really up in the air. That's probably not an easy thing to animate. Out of all the Ghibli movies, this one is worth seeing in theaters at least once, just for those scenes alone. This movie does also have so many freaking adorable moments. How do you not get a giant smile on your face when she runs up and gives that baker guy a big hug after he made a sign for her? I love when she helps that old lady bake that fish pie thing, whatever that was, for her granddaughter, but then you feel really bad when the granddaughter doesn't want it, and you especially feel bad because Kiki flew all the way there in pouring rain. And I swear to God this happens every time I watch this movie. But when she gets back and she's all soaked and she's about to cry, every time I watch this, I just go, aww.
We were all so worried about you. And that poor boy waited such a long time.
It doesn't matter anyway. I can't go in these wet clothes.
Aww. See? I then love it later when she goes back and visits the old lady and she gives Kiki a cake and then they talk about when each other's birthdays are. And I'm sorry, how can you hate on any of this? It's just so likable. The movie also does have some great messages for both kids and adults, and there are some fun side characters throughout. Okay, so kind of like My Neighbor Totoro, there wasn't much to talk about with this movie, but there is one thing I noticed, and I'm really curious to see if anyone else noticed this. So, look at this shot. Looks normal enough, right? So, look in the background. You got these bottles of soda, right? The grape one is turned a little bit to where we can't see the letter G. So it looks like the bottles all say rape. I know for a fact that that was not intentional whatsoever, but it's really distracting when in the background we see bottles of what looks like rape soda. What the heck? But Kiki's Delivery Service is such a delightful and innocent movie that I cannot hate on it one bit. I still love it, it puts me in a good mood every time I watch it, and if you've never seen this movie, you should definitely give it a shot. I think both kids and adults will all get something out of it. And come on, how can you say no to that little face? And this little face. This is my dog. Her name is Gigi. And I did not name her after the cat from this movie. We had her before I ever saw this movie. And I'm gonna give Kiki's Delivery Service an A+. So the setup this time around is that after the defeat of Upper 6, all the upper rank demons meet up to discuss what happens next. While that's going on, Tanjiro heads to the Swordsmith village to get a new sword, where he meets up with the Love Hashira, the Miss Hashira, and Genya from Season 1. And you know the drill, demons show up to destroy everything. This time, they had to fight Upper 4 and Upper 5. So you know how people were split on the whole To the Swordsmith village thing, where they just released 3 episodes in theaters? Well, as the show goes on, I could totally see why they did it, because the animation each season just keeps getting better and better, and even at points looks theatrical. One problem I had with the Mugen Train movie was that some of the CG animation didn't blend well with the 2D animation, but in this season, they very much improved on that with the animation for like these fish creatures and a bunch of wooden dragons. And I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Who called it? Who fucking called it? Me! This son of a bitch right here! I said in my To the Swordsmith Village review, what if they had guns? Could they use guns? Bro had a fucking gun! And yeah, that shit does the job. Blows the fucker's head off. One thing I love about watching every episode back to back each season is from the moment they start fighting the demons to the season finale, you are on the edge of your seat watching them trying to decapitate them, and it kind of gives you an adrenaline rush. Not gonna lie, while I was watching this, I was getting the same feeling I got when I used to watch an Avengers movie for the first time, where you just want to get up and cheer every few minutes when your heroes succeed at something, or they become more powerful than the villain. And with this new season, you will either be really happy or disappointed to hear that both Zenitsu and Inosuke are absent this time around. Which for me, I was totally okay with, because I really do not like Zenitsu. And you always gotta stop and wonder, why don't they just drug his ass? Because he only seems useful when he's asleep. But their role is basically replaced by the 2 Hashira this time, and I did really enjoy both of them. It was kind of funny though how the Mist guy has almost no reaction to all of this. Oh look, a demon. Should probably cut his head off. Now when it comes to the Love Hashira, I was surprised to find out that she's not in it as much as you may think. She's in the first episode, disappears, then she comes in at the end of episode 4, and is in episode 5, and then disappears again. There are a lot of backstories in this season, and she definitely has the weakest one. Compared to everyone else's that are really tragic, hers is just kinda... okay, that sucks. My family's dead, but, you know, that sucks. But she did make me question, how much cooler would Indiana Jones be if he had a whip sword? But by far my 2 favorite things about this show in general are the writing and the score. The writers do a great job with getting you more and more invested with what's going on in each season, and the horror elements this time around are some of the best in the series so far. Especially with that vase demon who can just cram people into vases. Yeah, he can have some pretty disturbing scenes. And the score does a great job of getting you pumped for what's going to happen next. Plus, as I was watching this, I had my speakers up all the way. As for issues though, Don't have any. Yeah, after this was over, I had to sit down and really think, did I have a single problem with anything I just watched? No, not at all. Like, this is one of those shows that I think is just a little too good at points. But I will mention, there is this one thing they do in every single episode that I've never been a fan of, and it's those little things at the very end after the end credits. I usually decide to skip these, but every time I do watch one, it's a total freaking tone shift. It really does feel like we just went from watching Game of Thrones to Paw Patrol in a split second, which is really weird to be saying for a franchise that has an R-rated movie. Yeah, we may have just watched a shit ton of people get obliterated, but you know, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Oh my god, so many people just died. Happy birthday to you. But I guess the one upside is, it's better than giving anything away that's gonna happen in the next episode. Oh, and this isn't a problem, I just wanted to mention this. There's one point where Tanjiro goes to hot springs and whips his dick out in front of another dude and says, I thought we could bond over our nakedness. That's, it's pretty weird, dude. Yeah, I know last time we didn't get along too well, so I thought we could maybe bond over seeing who has the biggest dick. It was a stupid idea anyway! One thing I've started to notice with this show, though, is that they really do know how to end things perfectly, and this season finale was just flawless. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I swear I'm not going to give anything away, but I will say, it was emotional, the score was amazing, and there is one point, again, not going to say what happens, but everything just goes dead silent for a good 30 seconds, and that was just such a good choice. Here's a show that I just liked at first, but with every single entry, just gets better and better. The Swordsmith Village arc is another great entry in the Demon Slayer franchise, and it leaves me very excited to see where they go from here. I don't think I have to recommend this to fans of the show, but if you've seen enough anime to get an idea of what it's like, and you haven't seen this show yet, it is a must watch. But to be honest, season 1 is really good, everything after that is just perfect. But if you're in that category, once you get to the Entertainment District arc, you gotta pick a day where you have not a single thing going on, because you're not gonna want to turn it off. Trust me. And as of right now, I already want to watch it again. It was that freaking good. I'm gonna give Demon Slayer, the Swordsmith Village arc, an A+. Actually, you know, I just realized, the Love Hashira's backstory is basically like Jack Horner's backstory in Puss in Boots 2. Just like, yeah, why should we feel entirely bad for you? That doesn't sound terrible.
I never had much as a kid. Just loving parents, and stability in a mansion, and a thriving baked goods enterprise for me to inherit. Useless crap like that.
Does anyone else also realize that this show is basically, let's just take the nicest guy ever and make him lose his mind? Excuse me, who are you? And what the hell did I just watch?
あなた誰なの？あなた誰なの？
はい、5秒前 !4、3、2。
Perfect Blue was released in 1998 and was the directorial debut of the late great Satoshi Kon. And this film is about Mima, a pop star who moves on from her life of singing to become an actress. And this past weekend, not only did I finally get to watch it for the first time, but I got to watch it for the first time in theaters as part of a special lineup called Anime Expo Cinema Nights. I don't entirely know the purpose for this lineup, but for the next few months, Anime Expo will be re-releasing a few different anime movies, such as Ghost in the Shell, Tokyo Godfathers, Paprika, and of course one of my personal favorites,
Get ready for the world of bebop.
You don't know how excited I am to finally get to see that in theaters. But to start off this lineup was Perfect Blue, which is a movie I've had on my list for years. And going into this movie, I went in completely cold. I had very little of an idea of what it was about, I didn't know any key plot points, and the most I kinda knew about it was a few key images here and there. Now let me ask some of you something. For those of you who have experienced this movie, oh, you're completely fine. You go right ahead and watch the rest. But, for the rest of you who have not seen Perfect Blue, let me ask you a question. Do you like your mind? Like your brain? Well, if you decide to watch this film, congratulations, your mind is 100% guaranteed to get fucked! You may think this is just about a singer wanting to become an actress at first, but it's actually a psychological mindfuck about this girl possibly going completely insane from the pressure of changing careers and the fear of someone watching her every move in the distance. And as it goes on, it gets a lot harder to tell what is reality and what is all in Mima's head, and you really do start to question her insanity and whether or not this is all actually happening, if it's a dream or part of the movie she's acting in, and towards the middle, I started to lose a little bit. But in all the best ways, because I cannot remember the last time I was so eager to know how a movie ended, and I never knew where this was going, and once it was over, I was like, that was freaking phenomenal. And at the same time, I had no idea what to think about it. But again, in all the best ways. One thing I've always admired about this director is the unique art style in all of his films. This is an anime movie, but the characters aren't designed like other animes where they have gigantic eyes that take up a good majority of their face, and they all look like they've just eaten rainbows. The characters in Satoshi Kon's films are all designed to look as real as possible, and that is one thing I really admired about Perfect Blue. The only other film I had seen from this director before Perfect Blue was Tokyo Godfathers, and compared to this movie, that was tame as hell. And besides this being a complete mindfuck of a movie, it can get pretty intense here and there. This is a film about finding one's own identity, and Mima will do whatever it takes to figure that out, even if it means doing a lot of things that she is not comfortable with. There's one scene that's kind of hard to watch because she's acting a specific scene in a movie she's in, and yeah, you know it's acting, but the way it plays out and just the fact that you know she doesn't want to do it doesn't really give you a good feeling inside at all. I mean, it's not supposed to, but it's like, you just don't like watching it. And even though this isn't what I would really call a horror film, it's definitely more of a thriller, it can be very scary. It did get under my skin at points, and it is one that will always stick with me, and I will never forget seeing it for the first time, especially since I saw it in theaters. It does get to a point where the movie is so insane that it does feel all over the place, but it is so clever with its storytelling, creative ideas, the psychological thriller aspect, and a twist that does take some thinking that it all makes complete sense in the end. I also think it's really cool that Darren Aronofsky loves this movie so much that he used elements of it for his films like Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan, and he also bought the rights to it just so he could use that inspiration for his movies. And I always love it when directors are heavily inspired by something like anime, that they'll incorporate elements of it into their films, kind of like Michael B. Jordan with Creed 3. And I'm just gonna randomly bring something up from the movie. At one point, you hear this news report in the background about this woman and her son cramming themselves into a shopping cart for some reason, and I was like, is that in some way gonna come back into the movie? No, it doesn't, but I'm just like, I really want to just see that play out.
Guess I can't do that.
On the lighter side of the news, a mother and her 6-year-old son today tried to fit themselves into a shopping cart at a local grocery store. And the mother was unable to pry herself out.
I always like looking into Mima's room. I'm linked with you. I've put up a link to Mima's room. What the heck? Huh?
It did end up taking 2 paramedics to help the woman out of the cart.
But as a whole, Perfect Blue is fantastic and one of the best anime films out there. I don't think I could really recommend it to non-anime fans, but honestly, this isn't like other animes, and if you are interested, I'd say give it a shot. There are a lot of anime things out there that I would 100% call anime, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, or Demon Slayer, but this more falls into the category of a movie that's just animated in that style, and it's its own thing. But for diehard anime fans who haven't experienced this masterpiece, this is a must-watch. And I've referred to this as an experience a couple times, and when I say that, it very much is. And I'm definitely going to give Perfect Blue an A+.
Save me.
Save me, Maito!
What exactly are you?
Your mother. She's awaiting your rescue. I'll be your guide.
The Boy and the Heron is the newest and quite possibly last film of the legendary Hayao Miyazaki, and it comes to us 10 years later after his last film, The Wind Rises.
Let's go.
And this film tells the story of Mahito, a young boy yearning for his mother, who ventures into a world shared by the living and the dead. So if you're new to my channel, you gotta know that I am a huge fan of not just Studio Ghibli, but also the great Hayao Miyazaki and just animation in general. This man is so good at what he does that I believe he can do no wrong. Anything he touches, particularly when he's directing it, immediately turns to gold. I absolutely adore all of his movies, and I even just started watching the TV show that he did, Future Boy Conan, and I'm really enjoying that right now. But after years of hope and waiting for him to make his triumphant return, Miyazaki is back for his, for sure, last go-around with The Boy and the Heron, which was my most anticipated movie for the rest of 2023. Well, let's get the obvious out of the way. The animation is absolutely breathtaking. Just like every other film from the studio, I was just taken away by the beautiful artistry, whether it be in the amazing character designs, the gorgeous background colors, and just the all-around scope of the picture. But I did have to constantly keep reminding myself that I'm watching a brand new Studio Ghibli movie because I just got so used to seeing the older ones in theaters. I also saw this on an RPX screen and it was worth every penny. I'll state this right now that I will be going back to see this again on the same screen, but next time in the English dub because this time I saw it in the subtitled version. Yeah, I saw the sub version because I saw an early screening of the movie and that was the only version that they were showing, which also means this is the first time I ever watched the Studio Ghibli movie in the sub version. Oh, and I kind of already gave it away, but yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Did this give me everything I wanted to see in a Miyazaki film? Abso-freaking-lutely. The entire time, I just had a big smile on my face, was blown away with what I was watching, and I was just so happy to be in a theater filled with Ghibli fans, watching what felt like an event for us. Hell, remember when MCU movies used to be an event? I guess you could call this the best MCU movie of the year. I said MCU. Another thing I've always loved about Miyazaki's films is the world building, and this movie is no exception, with a very bizarre world run by the dead and the yet to live, where the living can still live as well. Which is such an amazing idea that I think Miyazaki is the only one that could get it done right. And I do believe that he had to take some inspiration from Pixar's Soul with the little War of War characters that are coming soon to a Hot Topic near you. I did think Mahito was a great lead. There are honestly so many directions that you could have taken this character that any other animated movie would have done. But with this being a Studio Ghibli film, you have of course got a very smart and likable lead that is well written and very memorable. Now here's an example of what any other animated movie would have done. The movie starts off with Mahito losing his mother in a fire, and so later on, his dad starts seeing someone else. Now any other animated movie would have had the main character complaining about said parent's new love interest for the entire freaking movie. But here, Mahito just accepts it and goes on with life, and she actually is the reason that he goes into the fantasy world. You honestly just don't see that in a lot of movies. Now some of the stuff I've said, I might have just led you on to think that this is a family movie. It's not. It's rated PG-13 and rightfully so. There's blood, a lot of mature themes, and some scary looking imagery. Once the Heron first appears, he's got this very uncanny design where he's got a mouth and a nose inside his beak, and that honestly might freak out some young kids. But with the Heron character, was I the only one who kept thinking of that scene in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs where the baby man takes over the chicken body? Cause, you know, it's like a guy in the bird body. He's like controlling it and whatnot. I guess if there was one issue that I had, it was that the movie had kind of a last minute villain when it really didn't need to. But I do get it because the movie did need some kind of conflict at the end. I think this comes as a no-brainer, but The Boy and the Heron is another home run for the legendary Hayao Miyazaki. If you're a Studio Ghibli fan, you're already going to see this. If you've never seen a Studio Ghibli movie, what the everlasting fuck are you doing? Get your ass into a theater and watch this movie right fucking now, then go home and watch the 22 other films from the studio. Except maybe Earwig and the Witch and maybe that Earthsea movie. I haven't heard good things about that one. But then also watch Castle of Cagliostro and Future Boy Conan, because those are also really damn good. Now at the time of recording this, I'm not exactly sure where I'd rank this among all of Miyazaki's other films, only time will tell, but I absolutely love this movie and I'll be seeing it again very soon. And I'm gonna give The Boy and the Heron an A+.
One barbecue combo, and hold the barbecue.
The f does that mean? This is our main character, Futaro Uesugi. And get this, he's a loner. My God! And he also has good grades. I cannot even with this guy, but the worst thing of all is that is poor! Get it away! But you want to know the honest to God weirdest thing about him? There'll be points where we'll go inside his head and hear his thoughts, and for whatever reason, he sounds like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
My poor brain, under heavy duress and overclocked past its manufacturer limit, reached the only logical conclusion that it could possibly muster.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God. It even has a watermark.
$2.50 for udon. 2 shrimp tempura would be 300. The other varieties of tempura cost 100 yen each. Add the pudding, and that's...
After I remove the ice pack, I use a deep pore cleanser lotion. In the shower, I use a water-activated gel cleanser, then a honey almond body scrub. And on the face, an exfoliating gel scrub.
And there's even one point later on in the show where he sounds like Batman.
I feel like I'm hearing things. Repeat that, please.
Don't do that! You heard me!
So basically, he's a young Christian Bale. So fuck it, we're gonna call him Christian Bale.
And the water's free. I love this place.
Yes, school cafeteria, it's fucking incredible. Fuck Red Lobster. School cafeteria is where it's at. So while Christian Bale is looking for a seat at lunch, he bumps into this girl. We don't know this girl's name yet, so for the time being, she's just this girl. Keep it in your pants. No! You get the fuck out of here, intro. We are not talking about you until the end of the season. As long as YouTube doesn't block this video or something. Yeah, they're really strict with anime.
I hate to admit it, but I'm not good at school stuff.
Hey, neither was I, but I still graduated. And look at me now, Ma! I'm a film critic, and I'm doing this stupid shit. So Christian Bale and this girl end up sitting at the same table together, and they have a falling out because, well, he's kind of a dick to her.
Are you sure you got enough? If you want more, I'd be happy to share mine.
Don't get fat.
What the?
Wow! What a dick! Christian Bale then gets a call from his little sister telling him, okay, bro, you gotta listen to me, listen. So, we're in a lot of debt, right? Oh yeah, that comes in later. We're in a lot of debt, right? So, you have one or two options. You could either sell crack on the street like our father once did, or you could tutor this rich family's kids. Christian Bale then has a reaction like this. Little sis, I don't know if you know me or not, but I have 4 words for you. Crack, here I come! I got crack, here I come! No, he obviously picks the tutoring position, and I bet you'll never guess who he'll be tutoring.
Itsuki Nakano. It's so nice to meet all of you.
Wah, wah! Hold on, I still got a little bit more.
Here's that barbecue beef combo. Hold the beef.
Okay, that makes more sense than hold a barbecue. What does that even mean? He then tries to make amends with her, but misses his chance when he sees her sitting with friends at lunch.
Oops, it looks like we don't have any room left for you.
Suck my dick that I don't have. One of the girls, named Ichika, then decides to go and screw with Christian Bale. And the show lets you know right away that Ichika is a girl, as evidenced by the tits.
Don't just leave.
Huh? Bazungas.
But if you ever do need help, you can just ask your big sis Ichika.
At least, that's when you can call me in bed. This is not making my situation any better.
Hey, Wasugi!
Oh Christ, there's another one! He then runs into this girl, Yotsuba. She follows him around and... that's it. He then runs into this girl, Miku. That's it. He then gets to where Itsuki lives and then once again runs into Miku and this girl, Nino. She's kind of a bitch.
Listen, nobody likes you. So go home already, scum!
Once Christian Bale catches up with Itsuki, he has a big ol' yeah, no shit realization.
Your new tutor? It's me.
No way, I refuse!
How can I refuse?
But that changes now. Starting today, I'm your partner.
We will get married and have 60 babies. It will be hell.
We're not friends. We're sisters. In fact, we're quintuplets.
Oh, and before we go on, if you think this is gonna be one of those animes where you have the screaming, spazzy virgin guy who never shuts the hell up and is surrounded by a bunch of girls, well, every once in a while, it does feel like that. And don't worry, we'll get to those parts. But the one major difference between this show and other animes that I'm talking about is that Christian Bale does not give a fuck. He's got to study with these 5 beautiful girls and bro can give 2 shits less about them. All he wants is his paycheck to get these girls to graduate and to get the fuck out. Which, to be honest, is a pretty damn good plan. But here's how I graduated. True story. My senior year, first semester, little rough, classes were a pain in the ass, but my second semester had one class where I did work, 2 bullshit hours where I didn't do fuck, had one class where I just took notes and maybe an easy enough test every once in a while. Then we go to lunch, then I had a PE hour, and then I was gone. I was the fuck out of there. But you want to know the one thing that almost screwed me up? In my English hour, which was the hour that we had work in, we had to do this thing at the end of the year where we made a soundtrack with songs that relate to our lives. And I was like, how the fuck do you do that? So basically, I had to get my mom to help me with it a little bit. And the one song I could think of that was related to me was AC/DC's Highway to Hell. But since I got my mom to help, I passed and I fucking graduated. And look at me now. Balloon titties. Okay, that's enough about my senior year. Back to the show.
So, why are you here?
Obviously! It's time to start our first tutoring session! Where else would I be?
I'd say you probably be in hell, because your name sounds kind of like a demon name. I mean, listen to it. Yotsuba. Can't you just kind of hear it?
Thank you, Yotsuba. Please, let me hug you.
Oh, that got awkward.
All of our bedrooms are side by side, see? Itsuki, me, that one's Miku, then Nino, and Ichika's at the end.
Never go near this door! So help me God, go in here or you will fucking die! I'm just kidding. It's a closet. Ooh, I wonder what's in here. No way! Get the fuck out of here! Nickelodeon DVD bingo! Remember this shit? He tries to get the other girls to come down and study, but he has no luck. He then gets to Ichika's room, and this happens.
Forget that. Come on, let's go downstairs.
Whoa! That's a bad idea!
Uh?
I'm kinda naked here.
Bruh. Of fucking course she is. This was the point in the show where I was like, some nerdy dude living in his mom's basement is jacking off to this, right?
I hope you're not always this concerned about your schoolwork when you're in a bedroom with a cute naked girl.
I mean, she's not wrong.
Give it back.
You can have it later. Calm down.
I have nothing to say to that besides, what was that look, dude? But the next thing that happens is the best thing in the episode.
Here, have some water.
A good idea, thank you. For their sake.
Well, goodbye.
Huh? Wait, where?
What?
It was her!
4,800 yen, please.
She fucking drugged his ass! And there is such a missed opportunity here. They should have shown the process of them dragging his ass down the stairs, chucking him into a taxi, and then driving him there, and making sure that the taxi driver didn't ask any questions. Such a missed opportunity.
Excuse me, miss. Would you like to have dinner at our house? You don't want to?
Shots fired! Duh! Itsuki then finds out the real reason that Christian Bale is tutoring them, and that is because the family is in a lot of debt, and surprisingly, no, it is not because the dad stole crack on the streets. Okay, to be honest, we never actually do find out what the dad does do for a job, so just from looking at him, I'm gonna say male stripper. I mean, come on! You cannot tell me this guy is not getting every night and then coming home with a shit ton of ones all the time. He is obviously a male stripper.
Well, actually,
Yeah, of course, everything went perfectly!
Why'd you say that?
Just lie! Don't make her sad!
Do it! Because I already screwed up and told her the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus aren't real!
I know my big brother's a stuck-up scumbag loser jerk and everything.
Wow! That was harsh! Itsuki then decides to cooperate and let Christian Bale be their tutor, and that's the episode. But the true moral of the story for this episode is, make sure you have a cute little sister so rich people will give you money. Wait, wasn't that the plot of Parasite? I mean, he did have a sister, and he did get a lot of money from those rich people. So, kinda. God damn it, I always forget about that part. Yeah, so this whole show revolves around him eventually marrying one of these girls, and it's one big flashback. Which, in that sense, the show is a little fun to watch, so you can pinpoint little reasons and things as to why he might marry that girl. Ow! There.
Quintuplets trivia!
Hold up!
Quintuplets trivia!
How do we promote the next episode? I don't know, maybe he's face planting into one of their tits.
I want to try. I'm so afraid all the time. I know the other me is trying harder than I am.
If this is what you want to do, I'll support you every step of the way.
Just chill out and wait for Kaede to come home, okay?
The Rascal Does Not Dream double feature was a 2-night Fathom event double feature consisting of 2 films based off the anime series Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. And one special thing about this double feature is that this is the first time ever that the series has an English dub version. So truth be told, I just watched the entirety of the Rascal Does Not Dream series about only a week ago, and originally my plan was to just go into this movie cold, and then come out and explain my experience to you guys and what I got out of the movie. But then I decided to actually watch this show and really got hooked into it. And I'm just gonna say it, most misleading series title ever, because every time I saw the title for this show, I was just like, what the hell is this? Bunny Girl Senpai? I'm not watching this weird crap. But if you actually turn it on, you'll find out that first off, that girl never wears that bunny outfit besides once, and it's actually for a good reason at one point. And you'll also find out that the show is actually really engaging and has a great supernatural twist to it, where every few episodes some weird phenomenon happens, whether it be body swapping, a character slowly disappearing, a Groundhog Day scenario, or a loss of memory. The show is actually really entertaining. All due to a little thing known as puberty syndrome. You couldn't have come up with a better name for that? But a couple nights ago, I went and watched 2 movies based off the series entitled Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sister Venturing Out and Rascal Does Not Dream of a Knapsack Kid. And I decided to go watch the dub version of this movie because while watching the series, I got really tired of reading so much after a while. I'm a slow reader, get off my ass. But man, was that a huge fucking mistake for 2 reasons or more, because not only was I the only one in the theater, but also these characters talking in English was so off-putting all of a sudden that it took so long to get used to. Maybe it wasn't the best idea to start dubbing this late into the series, and that's probably the only reason I was the only one in the theater. So you're probably wondering, how was this first time dubbing? Well, first, let's take a look at the first film in this double feature, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sister Venturing Out, which I really wish was called Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sista Venturing Out, because, I don't know, that just sounds funny. Here's a clip from the trailer.
Make sure you study hard.
I'll do my best. Do you think you could tutor me?
Don't blame me if you don't get accepted, okay?
Then you can study with me in the afternoon.
That's right. I think I remember you mentioning her before.
So what this film is about is Kaede, the little sister of our main lead Sakura, who really wants to go to the same high school as her big brother. And if you're thinking, well, there's gotta be more to it than that, that's the movie, people, if you can even call it that. You know, people are always saying that movies based off TV shows are just longer episodes? Sister Venturing Out is literally the sheer definition of that. Never once during this whole runtime did I think that I was watching a movie, and I kept questioning, why am I watching this in a theater? And it's not like much has changed between this and the TV show. Even the animation is completely the same with no slight changes. And even just looking at it as a longer episode, it's a pretty mid episode. All that happens is that Kaede wants to go to school, something kind of bad happens when she does, and everyone tries to help her get in and tells her why she should go and all that jazz. As I said, one thing that made Bunny Girl Senpai so engaging was the supernatural aspect with the puberty syndrome, but here, that's non-existent, and I think that's only briefly mentioned once. I'll give it to something like the Quintessential Quintuplets movie. Sure, it didn't feel that theatrical either, but it still had elements and moments that warranted it to be a movie. It also didn't help that apparently I missed the movie that happened in between these 2 movies and the series, where I guess a lot was resolved because there are numerous things mentioned that were not resolved in Bunny Girl Senpai. You remember how our lead had those giant scars across his chest? Gone. Kaede's bad memory? Resolved. As far as I'm aware, there's only these 2 movies, the movie I missed, and Bunny Girl Senpai. If there's any other movies or shows, let me know. But even though those things were mentioned and already resolved, it didn't take me out of the movie or anything. Now as for the dubbing, as I said, it did take a while to get used to since the show is usually subtitled, but it was good enough. But my one issue is that every once in a while, you would have a character that kind of sounded out of it as if they were a freaking zombie. The one I can remember off the top of my head is someone's like, oh look, there's a cafe over there. I'll go sit over there while I wait for you guys. This does also work great as a phone movie, one of those movies you have on in the background that while watching it, you can look down your phone and check whatever and still have an idea of what's going on in the film you're watching. Some good things I can say about it though are that the animation is still really good. Despite being part of a double feature, it is really freaking short, only having a runtime of 1 hour and 13 minutes, and I like these characters enough that I still enjoyed watching them. Honestly though, they are a little forgettable. But my final thoughts are that Sister Venturing Out is passable as a longer episode, but honestly fails at being a movie. If you're a fan of the series, I at least recommend checking it out once just to get caught up with the series. But if you're not a fan, you're just here listening to my review, so thank you for that. I'm gonna give Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sister Venturing Out a C. Well, that leads us into our next topic of discussion, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Knapsack Kid, which, next to Puberty Syndrome, you might want to change that name as well. Sounds kinda creepy. Here's a clip from the trailer.
Kaede.
It's me, Mom.
Maybe the four of us can live together again. What is this?
Anybody? Can you guys see me? None of you can see or hear me at all? Hey!
So in this film, Sakura starts seeing a younger version of Mai, his girlfriend, and while that's going on, Sakura and Kaede go to see their mother who is now out of the hospital, which also has something to do with Sakura slowly disappearing like Mai once was. Which I will say right off the bat, that them bringing back the puberty syndrome in this movie automatically made it much better than the Sister Venturing Out. So when this movie first started out, this is where my mind just goes sometimes. It starts with Sakura seeing a younger version of his girlfriend, and this also happened at the beginning of Sister Venturing Out, but it's more explored here. Anyway, it starts off with him, like, saying hi to her, and she's like, oh, I shouldn't talk to strangers. And he's like, oh, well, I'm Sakura. See, now we're not strangers. And I was like, why the fuck is this starting off like the beginning of It? Is he, like, gonna rip her arm off or something? But despite being better than the first film, this is still just a longer episode, and it's only a decent one at best. Probably its two biggest issues is that it's pretty forgettable, and we've already seen this plot before where one is slowly disappearing and only one person can see and remember them. And slight spoilers, but it pretty much gets resolved exactly how it did in the first few episodes of Bunny Girl Senpai. But there is one aspect of this movie that is a big deal, and that's the return of Sakura and Kaede's mother, and she does play a very vital role in this movie throughout. But the reason I found this one to be pretty forgettable is that it was just flying in one ear and out the other. And again, we've already seen this done in the series before. Hell, the whole thing with Sakura and Little Mai, I can't remember how that got resolved at all. Another problem, and this goes for both movies, they just abruptly end out of nowhere without any decent segue into the credits. As for things I liked, as I said, I like the supernatural aspect being back. Just like Sister Venturing Out, it is short, and the animation is still really good, and there are some emotional moments that might be affected to some. They also had this thing in the end where they said they were doing a new arc known as the college arc, and they never really established if it was going to be a show or a movie. Hell, with the animation they used, I was convinced it was an ad for the manga. Knapsack Kid is definitely better enough to where I can say that it is a good movie, but just barely. Of course, if you're a fan of the series, you should check it out, and who knows, maybe you'll have a different opinion than me on both of these movies. Not the best double feature I've seen, but not the worst one either. I'm gonna give Rascal Does Not Dream of a Knapsack Kid a very low B-.
This chocolate thief, super evil, do it!
We went through the trouble of hiding the microfilm in a truffle only to have it eaten.
Don't take this personally!
I'll get them back, whatever it takes.
In Spy X Family Code White, we follow the Forger family. Lloyd, the father, who just happens to be a spy known as Twilight, Yor, the mother, who just happens to be an assassin known as the Thorn Princess, and their daughter Anya, who just happens to be a telepath and knows both Lloyd and Yor's secret identities. And all this is pretend to further their own ends and is all a part of Lloyd's mission known as Operation Strix. And after receiving an order to be replaced in Operation Strix, Lloyd decides to help Anya win a cooking competition at Eden Academy by making the principal's favorite meal in order to prevent his replacement. So the Forgers head to Phrygius, the meal's origin region, where they set off a chain of actions that could potentially put the world at risk. Well, people, they finally did it! Regal did an anime movie as one of their mystery movies. I mean, true, it was inevitable, because besides an anime, the only other movie they haven't done is a fucking porno. And people, you do not know how excited I was to get to see this movie early, and I knew going into this mystery movie that it was going to be this, because it was pretty obvious. It said the movie was going to be PG-13, it was an hour and 57 minutes long, which always means it's going to be a little shorter than that. And of course, there was no other movies coming out soon with that rating or runtime. But still, a little bit of me knew going in that there was going to be a 50-50 chance that it wasn't going to be this movie. And honestly, if it wasn't this movie, I was going to be like that kid on Christmas who was just so excited to get a dog, but all I got was a dog bone, and that was it. I was just going to be all like, oh, Spy X Family, Spy X Family, Spy X Family! Boy kills world, what? Okay, to be honest, I do want to see that one. But then that Crunchyroll logo popped up, and I quietly said in my seat, yes! 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 If you can't tell, I really like this show. I remember that a friend of mine recommended it to me, and I remember that it didn't take long for me to get hooked into it. This show is very likable with some enjoyable characters, a very engaging story, some great action, and it's just an all-around cute show. Most of that has to do with the character of Anya, who is just freaking adorable. Now when it comes to this movie, Spy X Family Code White, I just want to let you know that no matter what I say about this movie, whether I give it any negatives or just didn't get into it at all, I'll safely say that I just had the biggest smile on my face watching this from beginning to end, and I was just so happy to be there. Just like the show, this is a very cute movie, and I've always loved how this show does have a great balance of those moments and the sometimes violent moments as well. And again, most of those cute moments come from Anya, just like in the show. Now I should probably get this out of the way because some of you watching this might just be like, oh, he's talking about an anime, I don't watch anime or this show, I'm out of here. Well, sit your ass back down because let me tell you something. This is one of those very, very, very rare occasions where you do not have to watch the show nor know anything about it at all to enjoy this movie. If you decide to walk in here cold, don't worry because the first 10 minutes of this movie is just to get you caught up on everything that's going on. From our leads to what Operation Strix is, this movie catches you up on everything perfectly and they don't leave anything out. Okay, they don't tell you who every character is, but besides the Forger family, the rest are just mostly cameos and you can figure out on your own who they are. And as a fan of the TV show and being very hyped for this movie, I'm very glad to say that I really like this movie. But I don't love it. God damn it! What is with movies this year so far? So far, there's only been like 4 kinds of movies this year. It's like there's been, it's really good, it's good, or fuck that was terrible. There hasn't been one single movie this year so far that I absolutely loved or just blew me out of the water. And I hate to say it, I really do. But this movie's got some major issues. One of the biggest issues is sadly the story. It's just one about the family going on a vacation and a bunch of crazy shenanigans end up happening and they have to save the day, but it does do something different than other movies like it where they actually have a reason that they need to go on the vacation. There's also this one aspect of the movie where Anya eats this chocolate truffle that has a MacGuffin in it, and I honestly after a while forgot that was even a thing in the movie because even the movie forgets about it. Instead, they push it aside for a subplot where Yor thinks Lloyd kissed somebody and she's all worried about it and it's one of the worst parts of the entire movie. I'm not even kidding, I could hear some of the audience I saw it with groaning when this part would come up. And yeah, it's pretty fucking stupid, but I am glad to say that it doesn't go on for the entire movie and how it is resolved is kind of funny. Another thing is that the movie has a very slow first half. I can even hear people leaving the movie after it was over having the same reaction, and that mostly has to do with the fact that nothing really major happens in that time besides Anya eats the chocolate, which I'll get to that in a moment. The first half is so slow that there were points where I started to zone out, and that is really when I started to feel the runtime, to the point where I almost forgot what I was watching for a moment. Which that's another major issue, this movie is a little too long. It's only an hour and 50 minutes, but you feel that hour 50. If they cut it maybe by 15 to 20 minutes, then I think this could have been so much better. And another thing that I'm sad to mention is that there really isn't enough in this movie to warrant a theatrical release. With the first half dragging on so long, it gets to the point where I was thinking to myself, why am I watching this in a theater, and why does this story need to be in movie form? It's as if they had a contract, and in that contract they said if they want to have a show, they also have to have a movie at some point. So they just came up with something rather quickly, because nothing in this movie really warrants a theatrical release, as I said, and it ain't much different from what we get in the show. And god damn it, I hate doing this, I really do. Hating on a show that I really like, and then making it out to sound like I did not like the movie, when I really did. But despite all the negativity that I'm giving it, the best thing I could say is the exact same thing I said about the Venture Bros movie, and that is that it's still Spy X Family. If you're a huge fan of this show like I am, then everything is still here from the show that you love. And despite a very slow first act, the second half is where all the action and stuff is, and it's very entertaining and has some of the best animation in the movie, especially a fight scene between Yor and a literal gunman. And I still really liked watching these characters, especially Anya, who might just be one of my favorite anime characters, and that's just because she's really just so freaking adorable, and she has the funniest bits in the movie. And when it comes to the humor, she's really where the best comedy comes from, and most of the humor here is just like in the show, where it's either really cutesy with her and her little assumptions, and it can have some dark humor here and there.
I'll see you in hell, baby. Would have gotten them all if they weren't so fast.
They're not moving, Anya.
Now when it comes to the movie's PG-13 rating, it's really just one of those in-between PG-13s, where it's basically PG with just a bit of an edge to where it has to be PG-13, but I think it's an okay one you can take the kids to, and I think they'll have a good time as well. And just like almost every anime, it's beautifully animated, and there's even aspects where they try different styles of animation, and that's mostly when we go inside Anya's mind and see what she's thinking, which is always some situation that's always exaggerated or goofy. But there's also some aspects of the movie I could have totally done without. As I mentioned a couple times already, Anya eats this piece of chocolate that has a MacGuffin inside of it, which, by the way, really is just a MacGuffin. I mean, yeah, it has a name, it's called the microfilm, but we never find out what it does, what it is, or why it's so important. Besides, it just holds the fate of the world at stake or whatever. Anyway, Anya eats the MacGuffin chocolate, and the bad guys try to make her have to poop it out, which then leads into this whole dream sequence with, like, a toilet god and whatever, and this was the point of the movie where I was just like, okay, I'm enjoying this, but what the hell am I watching right now? I could have done without the whole toilet wizard or whatever. But now, the moment I know some of you have been waiting for, what was the audience reaction with this movie? Well, not to shock the shit out of you, but a lot of people sadly got up and left. What else? Oh, there's this guy in front of me who I swear to God just wanted to kill himself and regretted being there. But for the rest of the audience who ended up staying, they seemed to really enjoy it and had a good time. And at the end of the movie, I even heard one girl quietly go, but how much you want to bet there was one person in that theater who had never seen anime before watching this and was just like, fuck, I think I like anime now. Which, hey man, it's not bad. A lot of it's really damn good. But not all of it. Trust me, you watch one of the good ones. And that's another thing. If you've never seen anime and want to give it a shot, this movie and this show is both a great start. But I could honestly do without the little girl crushing on Lloyd. Yeah, that's a thing in the show. But in the end, and despite a few issues, I still had a really good time at Spy X Family Code White. Fans of the show, of course, will enjoy the heck out of it, and even newcomers will get a kick out of it, maybe find out that they really enjoy anime. Or not. There's still that not chance. I really wish I could say that I love this movie and I can't wait to watch it again, but I still had a huge smile on my face and was glad with what I got. Not the glowing review that I wanted, but it's still one that highly recommends this movie. I'm gonna give Spy X Family Code White a B+. And I know I literally just said that I'm not all that eager to watch it again, but I probably will go watch it again. It's just a cute movie. So no matter what I think about this movie, I'm pretty sure that we can all agree that The Dumpster Battle is hands down the best title of the year so far. I mean, I hear that title, I want to go see that movie. And sadly, no, they don't fight in a dumpster. That's the name of the volleyball game they're playing.
This is the gayest thing that I've ever seen.
It's pretty gay.
In my life. Besides seeing another man suck another man's dick. This is the gayest thing that I've seen ever right here.
Besides gay porn.
Besides gay porn, and I knew a gay porn star at one time.
Haikyu the Dumpster Battle is based off the popular anime series of the same name, and the movie follows the Karasuno High School volleyball team as our lead Shoyo finds out that he must team up with his middle school nemesis Tobio in a tournament known as the Dumpster Battle. At least, that's the closest this movie has to a plot, and we'll get more into that in a minute. And I should probably get this out of the way right off the bat. I have never seen a single episode of this anime. I'm aware of its existence, I know it's got a fan base, and despite never seeing it, I have learned a lot about it from some friends of mine in the last few weeks. I've heard it's actually really good, I've heard that it can get intense with some of the volleyball games, but most importantly, the thing I've heard about the most is that it's gay as hell. Now that's not me bashing the show in any way, it's just, anytime anyone has told me about this show, that is what I've heard the most from them. And to be honest, I got the trailer for this in front of Spy X Family Code White, and when Blondie looked at the orange-haired kid, he just gave him a look, and I was like, what was that look, dude? And the more and more people told me about the gay overtones in this show, the more and more I got excited to check out this movie. Hell, it even got to the point where I was just like, fuck Furiosa! This is my most anticipated movie for May. I've heard so many goddamn things about this anime, from the fact that our main lead is what is called a short king, which I had to get someone to explain to me what the hell that was, and the more exclamation points in your title of your sports anime specifically, the gayer it is. And the title of this movie has 2. Also, the villain in the series, who I'm guessing is not in this movie, from the picture I saw of him, The villain in the show is apparently the worst of the worst when it comes to the villains of My Hero Academia. I don't know, somebody just told me that and I thought it was the funniest goddamn thing. And if that thing with the exclamation points is true, then let me tell you, there is a scene where someone receives a text from somebody and there is a fuck ton of exclamation points. God, this movie's gonna have to make me apologize to these two sons of bitches. And then look at this poster. Doesn't it look like these two motherfuckers are about to kiss? Well, when you zoom out, holy shit! That got intense. Not even kidding, that shot's in the actual freaking movie. Now, most of what I just mentioned apparently is in the show. Does that translate well into the movie? Yes it does! Holy shit! This thing is gay as fuck! Now, it's not me being homophobic in any way whatsoever, it's just... Look at it! Come on! From the moment that Blondie shows up and he interacts with Shoyo, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be exactly what I paid to see. Every moment this guy is thinking about Shoyo, he constantly gives him those fuck me eyes. There's even one bit where he imagines everyone as Shoyo. Shoyo these nuts. It's like, get a room, you two! Jesus Christ! Okay, now that I've gone on long enough about the gay overtones in this series, how is the rest of the movie in general? Especially since I'm a newbie to this series. Well, I knew going in that it was going to be about volleyball, and that's what I got, from beginning to end. I wasn't expecting the whole movie to be about volleyball! Yeah, that's one of my biggest problems with the movie. If you're a fan of this series and get very much into the game of volleyball, and you have a connection with these characters, then you're going to enjoy the heck out of this. If you're not a fan of this series, and don't get that much into sports, and have no connection with these characters, it can be enjoyable for a minute, but then after a while, it almost becomes a bottle film where we're in the same location for the entire runtime, besides some flashbacks, and it can get a little boring. It's kind of like if you took someone like Rocky, and the entire runtime was the fight between him and Apollo Creed. It's like, okay, it's entertaining for a while, but then after a while, it does get a little old. But also, that's just me in sports in general, except usually I get into sports movies, because you're just put into the middle of the action, but I don't know why, it just didn't work here for me. Maybe because it's animated? I don't know. Now look, I know that since I'm going into a movie based off an already established series, that there's a very unlikely chance that they're going to introduce any of the characters, and I'm okay with that, as long as there's a character that I get to know a little bit, or maybe I get some enjoyment out of. But here, they give you no time to get to know these characters or what they're like, so I really had no connection with them or didn't care about a single one of them. It also doesn't help that besides Blondie and the orange-haired kid, none of the characters really stood out design-wise. And I know that I've never seen the show that this is based on, but if it's exactly like the show, then this really isn't any different from what you get in the show, and because of that, I don't see any reason for this to be theatrical. I mean, the movie is shot very well and the animation is really good, but if it's the exact same with nothing changed, I don't get why you wouldn't just wait to watch this on Crunchyroll. Aside from the cinematography and the animation, the only other things I can say about it is that it was short, only having a runtime of 85 minutes, and it did fly by, and I of course got some laughs from all the gay overtones throughout. Now somebody can correct me on this, I saw the dub version of this movie, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time the series has ever been dubbed. I don't know, because I looked at every season of the series on both Netflix and Crunchyroll, and it all seemed to be subtitled, but in my opinion, the dubbing was pretty good. But if this is the first time that the series has ever been dubbed, then that might take a while to get used to if you are going to watch the dub version, especially if you watch the entire series subtitled from beginning to end. But to be honest, with all the gay overtones in this series, I would love to see it get its own Ghost Stories dub, just where they don't give a fuck about how it's dubbed, and they all sound like the characters from South Park. So my recommendation for this movie is that if you're a fan of the series, you should definitely check this out, but I honestly don't think it's one you need to rush out and see immediately. Unless you're like dying to see it, because Crunchyroll takes fucking forever to release their stuff on Blu-ray or their streaming service. I guess I'm glad that I gave it a shot and that there were elements that I did enjoy, but it didn't really get me to want to watch the series. And despite whether or not you enjoy this review, I'm probably not the best source on whether or not this movie's good or not. But I will say, I'd rather watch 85 minutes of a volleyball game over 2 hours of boring ass exposition like that reincarnated slime movie. I'm gonna give Haikyu the dumpster battle a B-, and that's mostly because I haven't seen the series that this is based off of, and of course there's a lot of quote-unquote lore that I don't know about, so I don't know how great of a representation this is to the show or not.
京本藤野先生は漫画の天才です。まあ話できたら見せてもいいよ。
Look Back is a new anime film released by G-Kids and is based off the manga by Chainsaw Man creator Tatsuki Fujimoto. And in this movie, popular outgoing Fujino is celebrated by her classmates for her funny comics in the school newspaper. One day, her teacher asks her to share the space with Kiyomoto, a true recluse whose beautiful artwork sparks a competitive fever in Fujino. And what starts as jealousy transforms when Fujino realizes their shared passion for drawing. So, truth be told, I had no interest in seeing this movie. Hell, I didn't even plan on going to see it until like a week ago. I completely forgot it was even coming out. It wasn't until I was talking to a friend of mine last week and she mentioned that she was gonna go see this movie that I was like, oh yeah, that's coming out. Look, I had not a damn thing against this movie. I didn't even know what it was. I never once saw a trailer for it, never heard anyone talk about it, not even in the anime community. I wasn't even aware that it was based on a manga by the same guy who did Chainsaw Man. Which, yeah, kinda weird that the same guy who made this crazy shit made this simple shit. But as you all know, I love animation, and because of that, I love to check out smaller animated movies at points, especially anime, and it's also from G-Kids, and they rarely ever release a movie that I don't like. So I went to go see the movie Monday night in a pretty packed auditorium, and boy, was that an awkward theater experience because it was assigned seating and I had to sit myself right in the middle between these two couples, just like cramming myself in there. Like, it was really uncomfortable. And I looked like the most out of place motherfucker in the theater, wearing a camouflage hoodie and having my collectible Terrifier 3 cup. I'm guessing half the audience thought I was supposed to be a Joker. Don't you dare send me back to that shit. But as I mentioned before, I basically went to this movie blind without having any idea of what it was about or what I was even in for, and I just got lost in it. I absolutely love this sweet little movie? Question mark? Like, people, this thing's not even an hour long. But who cares? It was so freaking wonderful. First off, the movie is absolutely beautiful. If we were to just look at animation alone, this would hands down be my favorite animated movie of the year automatically. There were so many scenes where I was of course paying attention to the movie, but I just got so lost in the artistry that at one point I had to remind myself to pay attention. I especially got lost in some of the backgrounds and the aerial shots, which were just amazing, and that makes a lot of sense seeing how one of our leads is really into drawing backgrounds. You know the animation is 11 out of 10, when one of the best scenes in the movie is just one of our characters aggressively skipping in the rain. There was even an interview with the cast and director after the movie was over, and that had a lot of insightful things about the animation and how it came to be. If you're a fan of animation and really get caught up in the artistry like me, then this is an automatic must-watch for that alone. But the movie is actually just one big love letter to art and the creativity that goes into it. Our two leads are very much into drawing manga, and before they meet each other, they constantly try to one-up one another. The movie can be very inspirational for people who are aspiring to be an artist or just anyone that's had a passion for making something. The movie actually spoke to me in a few areas, especially when one of the girls says that she loves drawing manga, but it is such a freaking hassle. I kind of apply that to me making my movie reviews and stuff. Yeah, you guys might be watching like a 5-minute video, but that doesn't mean that didn't take me a few days to edit. I mean, a great example comparison is my review of Joker 2 and my watching and talking on Baby Shark's Big Movie. Both have the exact same runtime, it's just one took a few more days to edit than the other. So basically, if you have a passion that you want to go somewhere with, you have to fully commit a lot of time, money, and energy into doing it, and I think this movie shows a great example of that. And since this is a movie about making manga, they of course give some love to some of the big names like One Piece, Chainsaw Man, even Spy X Family makes a little small blink and you miss it appearance. The movie also has an amazing score that very much works to the film's advantage, and when you have those quieter and even emotional moments throughout the film, it's phenomenal. I did like the relationship between the two girls, and they really were the emotional core of the movie. Actually, I don't know what other emotional core the movie would have. They're the only two characters in the movie. But you do really like watching them grow as friends. It's really sweet when the one tries to help the other out of their comfort zone, and it can be very relatable when they have to go their separate ways so they can do their own thing. And the movie isn't just an appreciation of art, but also life itself, and what it's like to go through some of the hard challenges that life throws at you. Oh, and when we're on the topic of the two girls, since I went in blind, I thought the main one, just from looking at the poster, was a boy. I mean, didn't you think that too? Hey, you think that's funny? You should check out the other G-Kids movie, Pompo the Cinephile, where it looks like children are running Hollywood. Good movie though. But you know what isn't funny? The ending to this freaking movie. I'm not gonna say what happens, but if you've read the manga, you already freaking know, and it is so goddamn soul-crushing. Basically, the movie ends with telling you life sucks and things can be just ripped away from you just like that. Okay, that's not entirely true. It's more telling you to cherish the things and the people in your life, and the ending for this movie comes right out of left field and will devastate you. Seriously, my whole auditorium started bawling their eyes out, especially the woman that was sitting right next to me. It was heartbreaking. Now, did I tear up? I will say that I almost did, but then I was all like, I probably shouldn't, just because I'm sitting right in between these two couples I don't know, and I would have been just so awkward if I was just that guy in the middle who just started bawling his eyes out, like them fucking man tears. You know how hard it was to not tear up at this? Whew, I would have made a name for myself there, and they would have let everybody know what happened that today. Now as for issues, I have a single one, and that's mostly because there isn't much to hate on with this movie. It's so quick, simple, to the point, and so heartwarming that I find it nearly impossible to hate on. And again, it's stupid short, only having a 58-minute runtime. I'm honestly surprised it's even got any kind of theatrical release. So to my surprise, Look Back was just wonderful, and is easily one of the best films of the year. This is a movie that I highly recommend to anyone. Anime fans, animation fans, anyone who's ever had a passion to make something, anyone who just wants a sweet, enjoyable movie, this is a must watch. I would say go watch it in theaters like I did, but it was only showing for 2 nights most everywhere. Yeah, it was weird. It wasn't like a Fathom event or anything, but I still had to pay Fathom event price? What the hell? But once it's Blu-ray, VOD, or even streaming, definitely give it a watch. It's a quick little film that I think anyone could get into. I just loved it, and I'll be watching it again once I get the chance. And I'm gonna give Look Back an A+. Seriously, how is this the third A+ I've given to an animated movie in the span of a month? This is me the first 2 days of this week's poll being put up. Oh boy! Terrifier 3 is winning the poll! As you can see, I'm a huge Terrifier fan. That means I gotta see Terrifier 3 this week! Terrifier 2 is one of my favorite horror movies! Let's freaking go! I'm so freaking happy! You guys love me! You really love me! And then this was me after I saw what actually won the poll. You bitches! Okay, that didn't actually happen. I'll play a serious clip.
Are you seeing this?
Wait, what? I am the new All Might.
My Hero Academia You're Next is the newest film based off the popular anime and is the 4th film in this franchise. Wait a minute! This is the 4th one?! Fuck, I'm really behind. This time around, Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, and the rest of UA High Class 1A must face off against Dark Might and the obscure crime organization under his control, the Golani family. The Golani family. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that. And if you think that last part sounds like a spoiler, it kind of is. Hey, don't blame me. I just read the IMDb plot description. So I'm gonna start off by saying, you guys really screwed up on this week's poll. Why? Because you were supposed to pick Terrifier 3, and it almost won. It was this close to winning, but it didn't. And you should have picked it because, as I mentioned in the opening, I'm a huge Terrifier fan. Terrifier 2 is one of my favorite horror movies. But the biggest reason you guys screwed up was because when it comes to My Hero Academia, I've only seen the first season. And that was like a few years ago, and I like barely remember it. All I remember was Deku, Bakugo, All Might, because how the hell do you forget All Might? And that Deku was having to eat All Might's hair to gain his power because Deku didn't have his own powers. Also, his actual name's Midoriya. I kind of forgot about that until this movie. Yeah, that's anime for you. We're just eating people's hair. I also saw a part of one of the movies, but like I don't remember what I watched or anything about it. So yes, this is most definitely going to be a review from an almost complete newbie. Actually, let me rephrase that. This is going to be a newbie attempting to review this movie because I probably don't have any idea what the hell I'm talking about. So with that in mind, People, I seriously don't know what I'm supposed to say or how I'm even supposed to start off this review. First off, I don't have the slightest clue what has happened from the first season besides apparently Deku and Bakugo have become friends and Bakugo is still the same as he was in the first season. Which, hey, I'm okay with that. I love screaming pissed off Bakugo. So I say that because I don't know if the events that seem to happen before this movie happen within the series. The movie starts off with the city completely destroyed and everyone's still reeling from the events that I guess just took place. They say it was a fight between the villains and the heroes, but from the looks of it, it seems like both sides are to blame. By the way, that's one thing that's always bothered me about this show. They always just call the heroes heroes and the villains villains, or in the villains' case, the League of Villains. Look, I know the Legion of Doom was taken, but you could have come up with something more original than that lazy crap. But to get an idea of what goes down to set up the film's plot, basically there's this guy who takes the form of All Might, and he calls himself Dark Might. Did he go to the Ryan's World movie school of naming your bad guys or something? If you don't remember, the bad guy was Dark Titan and the good guy was Red Titan. Ooh, so evil. But then there's also this girl with a quirk, which if you don't know My Hero Academia, quirks are what they call the powers in this world. But anyway, there's this girl with this quirk and it hurts her more than anything else. And then there's this red-haired guy who heals her quirk or something. And Dark Might needs her quirk for something. But the red-haired guy has to kill her, but doesn't want to kill her. You getting all this? Because I'm not. Okay, basically, long story short, All Might is Superman, Dark Might is Homelander, so the class is basically fighting less evil Homelander. But I will say that the one thing I quickly picked up on was that this has almost a similar plot to One Piece film Red, in which there's this red-haired guy who helps this girl, and her leads are stuck in this fake reality through the entire movie, and the villain's the one keeping them there, and oh my god, this is One Piece film Red. Huh. People, I've mostly explained what I could talk about with this movie. Like, I seriously mean it when I think you guys sent me to the wrong movie. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And since I didn't know what was going on sometimes, I did get a few unintentional laughs throughout. Like, there's this one scene where Deku is going down this manhole, but like, he can't use his power, so he's just slipping. And he literally screams out my favorite line in the movie, "I'm going down crotch first!" I don't know why, that just made me laugh. I also, of course, made a stupid joke to myself here and there throughout. Like, there's this one scene where someone pulls a gun out of somebody, and Deku's all like, "Hey, put that away!" Which led me to say, "Meanwhile, at the Diddy party." Ha, I'm funny. Also, damn, I really don't remember a thing about this show, or like, I didn't watch much of it at all, because Deku's like throwing out all these power punches, and he'll go like, "St. Louis punch! Wisconsin punch! Timbuktu punch! Disneyland punch! 7-Eleven punch!" I'm like, cool, man. Why are you screaming that? Why are those your power moves? So you're probably wondering if there's actually anything in this movie that I liked. Well, actually, I don't even say if I liked the movie or not. So as someone who basically went in blind without almost any knowledge of this show, I gotta say it was kind of a mixed bag for me. I like the setup for the movie with this whole thing with the fake All Might, but for the first half of it, I found it kind of dull. Since I really have no connection with these characters, I didn't really care for their journey through this fake world, or whatever you're calling it. Even the whole thing with that red-haired guy and the girl, I already saw that whole relationship in that crappy-ass reincarnated slime movie. God, I forgot that even existed till now. This also just feels like a collection of episodes crammed into a 1 hour and 50-minute runtime to make this a movie, because there are a lot of points where I kept thinking it was about to switch over to the next episode. Not even kidding, throughout the movie I was just like, next episode, oh that's the next episode, hey we're going to the next episode, oh it's already over, next episode. Oh, and instead of having actual opening credits, it more starts off with like an intro that you would see in the TV series. But once we got to the climax where everyone is beating each other's asses, it actually picked up a ton and became a lot of fun. And as a somewhat newcomer, I did follow the movie pretty well and did enjoy myself enough, especially in that last half. So I guess for my recommendation, I'll say if you're a fan of My Hero Academia, then you should definitely check this movie out immediately. But if you have no affiliation with this series, you can just skip it. But if you do have to go watch it for some reason, you'll get some enjoyment out of a few scenes where there's like action and stuff. Honestly, I feel like some of this was kind of a waste of a review, but if you guys enjoyed it, that's all that matters. But just for that last half, I'm gonna give My Hero Academia, You Are Next, a low B. By the way, I cannot be the only one who wishes this movie was actually called My Hero Academia. Yo next, bitch! Yeah.
この街に来て出会った思いを届けられる人たち。違う世界のミクか。呼びかけていた届けたい人たちに。でも私の歌は誰にも届かない。
Colorful Stage the Movie, A Miku Who Can't Sing, is the newest film to be released by G-Kids and is based off the popular mobile app game of the same name. I seriously did not know that until I saw the trailer for this movie. You guys might kind of hate me by the end of this, but keep in mind, we're just here to have fun. And in this movie, Shibuya T... I'm pretty positive that's not how you pronounce it, but that's how we're going to because I don't know. We're just going to pronounce it that way. Fuck off. And in this movie, Shibuya teen musician Ichika meets Hatsune Miku after hearing her song in a store. The pair work together to help Miku forge emotional connections through music. Hey, you be thankful that they had the plot synopsis on IMDb like usual, because if you were to just come up to me and ask me to explain the plot of this movie right off the spot, I would just look at you and be like, you're on your own, pal. So, Hatsune Miku, Colorful Stage. I've heard of that. That's a thing that exists. I like bananas. Okay, so yeah, let's get one thing perfectly clear before we get into this movie. My knowledge of both Hatsune Miku and Colorful Stage is almost non-existent. I had, of course, heard of Hatsune Miku before and knew what she looked like, but I never really had an idea of who she was, what she was, or just the fact alone that she came from a video game of some sort. And actually, the way I found out about her was pretty damn funny, because one day I was just walking outside the theater I work at, and I walked past a car that has a sticker of Garfield with blue hair, and he was dressed like Hatsune Miku, but I didn't know who it was at the point. So I went inside and was like talking to one of my managers and one of my coworkers, and I was all like, hey, there's this car outside with a sticker of Garfield dressed like a gamer girl. Again, I didn't know who this was at that point. So then my manager went outside and looked at the same sticker and came back inside and told me who he was dressed as, and I just looked at her like, who? So clearly, I am very much the target audience for this movie. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was intrigued at best. I mean, it's a new film from G-Kids, I love supporting their movies, and it's based on an already beloved character, and I thought it would be one of those anime movies where, even if you don't know the property, you would still be able to follow it fine enough. So I went to go see the movie Thursday night, and let me tell you, there are a lot more people in that auditorium than I thought there was going to be, including some cosplayers, because, yeah, what did you expect? And according to a friend of mine that works at the theater I saw this at, this sold the most tickets for any movie showing that day. But Sinners is right there, guys! It's fucking amazing! I love it! Why am I not talking about Sinners? Oh, that's right, because everyone else is going to be talking about Sinners. So as a newcomer to all of this, you're probably wondering how this all turned out for me. Well, I gotta ask one very important question that I need answered immediately. Is this what it was like going to watch the Minecraft movie without any context to the games whatsoever? I'm just gonna let you guys know right now that despite this video being called a movie review, I do not know how much of an actual review this is going to be. In my many years of watching movies and my 2 years of reviewing movies, I have never come across a film that I couldn't in any way, shape, or form explain what happened, or at least something that happened in the entirety of the film's runtime until now. Normally when I say, what the hell did I just watch? I really do mean that, but at the same time, it usually comes with an opinion of some sort. Not this time! This is one of the rarest of rare occasions in which I watched a movie and had no clue at all what on God's green earth I was watching because I couldn't figure out what was going on to save my life! Normally when I go see an anime movie based off a show or something I've never seen before, I can figure out very quickly what's going on, maybe even have a good time with it. When it comes to the Colorful Stage movie though, it actually got to a point where I just had to give up on paying attention because I was so freaking lost and I just accepted my fate that I was watching this. For a majority of this film's runtime, I just sat there brain dead and started staring off into space while some pretty colors flew in front of my face. I'm not even kidding with you guys, it actually got to a point to where I started just laughing ever so quietly to myself because I was so confused to where that's all I could do. The best way I can describe my experience with this movie is like a day of school. I have no idea what anyone is talking about, I do not care, and I just cannot wait for this to be over with because my head hurts. Okay, before you all go off on me, do not take a single thing I say in this video seriously at all because I am just struggling to explain a movie that I know nothing about, couldn't understand one bit, and I'm just a jackass being another jackass. So without spoiling a single thing, I'm going to try my damnedest to explain some of what I saw and try to get an idea of what I think happened here. So take away the plot I explained earlier, and what I got from this is basically, you got this girl. Yes, I know. Which one? Half the cast is female. This one. I hope that's the right girl. I think so. She's the main one. She is totally the main one. I am positive on that. So anyway, this girl is a songwriter, singer person, and for some reason, I don't know how, she keeps running into Hatsune Miku, who, by the way, is not a real person or anything. So what she is, or seems to be, is this little AI girl or something, and she will constantly keep popping out of the main girl's phone to interact with her, or... yeah, she pops out of the phone and is like, "Hi, I'm Hatsune Miku. What's your name?" Okay, that's not exactly what she did. I'm trying, guys. I'm really trying here. And yes, this whole thing of her popping out of people's phones happens constantly throughout the movie to the point where the main girl's friends and some other people catch wind of this. Honest to God, I was really just waiting for a scene in which some guy is just sitting on the toilet there, and all of a sudden, like, he's just holding his phone, like checking Facebook or something, and it's just like, "Oh my God, what the fuck? Ah! Hi, don't eat me." And the funniest thing about this aspect of the film is that everyone just seems to be cool with a girl just popping out of their phone out of the blue. Not only has she probably seen some shit by doing this, but you're telling me there is not one son of a bitch who saw this girl pop out of their phone and they immediately chucked it across the room out of straight terror? There is honestly a great setup here for like a low-budget horror film or something, especially in one scene where someone throws their phone out of anger, breaking it, and she can still crawl out of the phone. Again, this made no goddamn sense to me whatsoever. I gotta emphasize that. Made no sense to me. But aside from the creepy phone thing, we also find out that the title of this movie is kind of BS because she actually can sing, it's just that she can't gain the audience that she wants. Damn, why does that sound familiar? So from what I've gathered, she gets the main girl and her friends to help her learn to sing and gain a following. Okay. Now this is all starting to make sense to me. Oh wait, no it's not, because immediately as I was barely starting to make sense of all of this, everyone in the real world just gets sucked into all their computers. What drugs did I take before this fucking movie? And I'm not even kidding, when that scene happened, when they all got sucked into their computers, I accidentally said out loud, "What the fuck?" So when they do get sucked into their computers, there's this thing in the movie called a Seikai, and it's a little virtual world where you can travel to different kinds of stages. And when I say stages, I mean like a stage where you might have like a concert or something. Not like a level or whatever. I think. Do not quote me on that. And FYI, Seikai is the Japanese term for the word stage. I did not find this out until after the movie, because during the movie, every time they said that, I was all like, "What the fuck is a Seikai? You are not explaining this!" And they constantly kept saying it, and I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about! Oh, and then after they get sucked into the computer world, for some reason, no, I know the reason, I just can't get into spoilers, but they gotta put on a concert for some reason. Okay, so basically that is all I can say without spoiling anything about this movie and making myself to sound like a complete asshole who just has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Because I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about! Seriously, take everything I've said here with a pinch of salt. But despite not understanding any of this, there's actually two things I did like. This comes as a no-brainer, but the animation is beautiful, and it's a gorgeous movie to look at on the big screen, and the big saving grace of the film for me personally was the ending where they do put on the concert. I enjoyed the music, the animation was very fluent, and it did wake me up from my brain-dead coma. If only I could hear half of it, though. Every time I go to the specific theater that I saw this movie at, in Auditorium 13, the speakers behind the screens are always broken. And they have been broken since like late 2022 as to my knowledge. Because I remember seeing, I think it was the menu, and noticed it rather quickly. And I mentioned it to him then, and it's been almost 3 years now, and they still have not fixed it. So yeah, during the scene, during the concert, it would always switch back and forth between the music is muffled or the singing and lyrics are muffled. And despite this being a video of me just rambling and goofing around, I am willing to give this movie another shot if two things happen. That being that someone or a bunch of people explain everything to me, Hatsune Miku, and Colorful Stage, and they release a dubbed version once the film hits Blu-ray, because I think watching the subbed version was part of my problem. The 2 times, including this time, I've went to watch an anime movie in the subbed version based off something I don't have any context to. I found it harder to understand what was going on when I had to read it, especially when something did not make sense to me. So word of advice, if you are doing that exact same thing, always go for the dubbed version, man. Which, in this case, I had no control over because there was only the subbed version. But to be honest, the moment I post this video, I'm going to get bombarded with 2 different types of comments. People mad at me for even talking about this when I have no context of what I'm talking about, and people do me a favor in explaining all of this to me. And for that, I say unto thee, go right ahead, man, because you tell me a lot about this, just give it a month, and I will know everything colorful stage and Hatsune Miku. It was done once before, it could be done again. Now, as for one legit negative I had as a newcomer, I thought this movie had way too many characters. It got to a point to where I couldn't remember a single one of their names, and they really started to all blend together for me. On a side note, since we always jump back and forth from the real world and the virtual world, the only time I could ever tell who is actually from the virtual world is anytime someone talked like this. Also, since I know nothing about this property, don't even ask if I've caught a single reference or anything, because I didn't. I mean, again, I know who Hatsune Miku is, but that's it. Actually, I take back what I said earlier about the whole thing with context with the Minecraft movie. This is more like if I went to go see Neighbor 2 without even thinking twice about watching the first one beforehand. Now you might be wondering if I have a legit opinion on this movie of any kind, and to that I say, don't ask me that. I honestly do not know if what I just watched is either good, bad, or somewhere in between. But based off the audience I saw this with, despite being dead fucking quiet through most of it, by the end of it, they seem to absolutely adore this film. And we haven't even talked about the best part about this whole experience watching this movie for me. So right before the movie started, a little thing came up saying, hey, after the movie's over, stay tuned for something special. And what was that special thing, you might ask? A mini fucking Hatsune Miku concert. Oh my god! I was going to be in bright and colorful hell. And it's not like the songs were bad or anything. From what I heard of them, because I kept zoning out, they seemed pretty good. But it got to a point where the audience, despite, again, being quiet through a majority of this, started losing their goddamn fucking minds to the point where I felt like the most out-of-place motherfucker in the theater. And yes, I did record a little small reaction to me in that theater, wondering why the fuck I hadn't got up and left yet. So, enjoy this. And on top of that, right before it started, a little voice comes on saying, "Hi, I'm Hatsune Miku. Did you enjoy my movie?" Great! Would you like to hear some of my songs in the form of a concert? Awesome! Here we go! Singing song, I don't know what they sang! And yes, the audience very much reacted to all of her questions and answered every single one of them as if we were all a bunch of grown-ass adults watching an episode of Dora the Explorer. I have no room to talk. And they even started cheering and shouting as it started, as if Jack Black just yelled out, "Chicken Jockey!" And yes, I may have leaned down in my seat and said, "Chicken Jockey," as they were cheering. No regrets for doing that. So, when it comes to a Miku who can't sing, this is one I can really only recommend to fans because, as a newcomer, I was completely confused with every second of this. But as a newcomer, I can say that the movie has some pretty colors, the songs were enjoyable, I liked looking at it, and the colors were flying, which made them even more purta. Guys, I got nothing. I really don't have the slightest idea of what I just watched, and I probably shouldn't have saw it to begin with. But hey, what I can recommend is that you go see Sinners because it's fucking phenomenal. I love that movie. I honest to God really want to go see it again. As for Hatsune Miku, I am not going to grade this one at all because it just does not seem fair whatsoever. Look, if someone is just willing to explain all this to me and it really starts to make sense, I am willing to give this movie another shot when I get the chance.
think you've driven me into a corner with your little plan? But you are all about to be going straight to hell! Mark my words, Demon Slayers. I'll massacre every one of you before sunrise!
Demon Slayer the movie Infinity Castle is the long-awaited first film in a new Demon Slayer film trilogy and is the second film in this franchise. And in this movie, the Demon Slayer Corps are drawn into the Infinity Castle, where Tanjiro and the Hashira must face terrifying upper-rank demons in a desperate fight as the battle against Muzan Kibutsuji begins. So when it comes to my thoughts on the Demon Slayer anime as a whole, it honestly might be one of my favorite animes, and a lot of that has to do with the great action, phenomenal animation, and enjoyable characters that do bring a lot of really good humor. And while I'll say that it has a little bit of a bumpy start with season 1, everything after that is pretty much peak, and even Mugen Train is arguably one of the best animated movies of the decade. Honestly, I don't want to say too much about my thoughts on the show right now because as of this moment, and this is destined to change, but I do plan on doing a ranking of every season and movie in the Demon Slayer anime franchise. Hopefully. But following the events of the ending to the Hashira training arc, we now have Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, which is part 1 of what is to be the Demon Slayer series finale film trilogy. At least, I'm just gonna assume that's what they're calling it. I don't know if each of these movies is gonna be called Infinity Castle or what, but I don't know, we'll just have to see. And if you saw my most anticipated movies of 2025 list from earlier this year, you'll know that this was my #1 most anticipated movie of the year, beating out like Superman, Wicked for Good, Mission Impossible, all of those. And since then, that has not changed an ounce. For the last month, I have been so hyped up for this movie that it hasn't gotten off my mind for a second, and as we got closer to the release date, it just became one of my top priorities to see this movie as early as I could. Yes, I bought my tickets online the moment they went on sale. What about it? But I'll just say this, I ended up having to refund one of those tickets because let's just say that working at a movie theater will always have its perks. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But before we get into it, I will let you guys know right off the bat that there will be absolutely no spoilers for Infinity Castle, but to talk about this movie, there might be a spoiler here and there for some parts of the series because it's almost impossible to talk about this movie without giving certain things away. So if you haven't seen the Demon Slayer anime and you want to see it, you've been warned. With that said, if you were hoping to go in blind to this movie to see what all the hype was about, this is exactly like the Mugen Train movie where it is a direct continuation of what came right before it, and they don't stop for a second to explain what's going on. Honestly, I was expecting a slight little recap clip before the beginning of the movie, and they didn't even bother doing that. Man, now I'm glad I did do a full rewatch of the series beforehand because there are a few aspects here and there that I completely forgot about that they finally tackle in this movie. So yeah, sadly there is no way I can recommend this movie to anyone who hasn't seen the Demon Slayer anime or just anime in general. But holy fucking shit, guys! I'm sorry to tell anyone in that category that you will be missing out on not just one of the most visually stunning movies of all time, but just one of the best goddamn movies of the year! I'm saying this as a Demon Slayer fan, an anime fan, and someone who has just adored the animation genre for his entire life. But this movie is absolutely spectacular in every meaning of the goddamn word. Jesus tap dancing Christ. If Into the Spider-Verse redefined the animation genre for CG animation, then Demon Slayer Infinity Castle has just destroyed any chance that any other 2D animated movie or anime has in the future. You know, besides maybe the next 2 Demon Slayer movies. From the second this movie started, there was never a single moment where I thought this just needed to be a regular season of the series because this is such a spectacle, an absolute marvel in animation, and just one of the most beautiful looking movies of not just the decade, but the goddamn century. And I'm seriously not just saying this as an animation fan, but just someone who has always seen movies and TV as an art form. I said the exact same thing a few years back when I reviewed Across the Spider-Verse, but every single frame of this movie is a work of art. And there were multiple upon multiple shots that I would love to have on my wall. Again, like Spider-Verse, this is a movie that has such visually stunning 11 out of 10 animation that they should be playing this on repeat in art museums. It's that fucking incredible, guys! And one thing that the Spider-Verse movies and this movie really do have in common is that so much will be going on screen and so much is flying around at the same time, but you are able to keep track and comprehend everything that is happening all at the same time, and half of it isn't even the action, but the Infinity Castle itself, which looks incredible. Okay, you know what? No, I take back what I said earlier. Even if you've never seen Demon Slayer or anime or just aren't a fan of the genre or whatever, you need to see this movie just for the animation alone. You may not be able to follow a lot of it, but if you enjoyed something like Neja 2 without seeing the first Neja beforehand, you're pretty much gonna have the same experience with this movie. Another thing about the animation is that you'll just watch like 5 minutes of this and then immediately understand why we are not getting part 2 and 3 for a good while. God, I might be in my late 20s by the time part 3 comes out. That's kind of scary to think. But of course, a big part of the animation with Demon Slayer is all the action scenes, and if you were hoping for 2.5 hours of non-stop action, that is about 85% of this movie, and all the fights are freaking awesome. The film gives you the long-awaited fights you've been wanting to see from the series, the ones that have been hyped up from the beginning, and they in no way, shape, or form disappoint. The movie takes no time getting you to the fights, and there is never a dull moment with any of them. And I'll just let you guys know, with such a giant cast of characters, a good majority of them get almost no screen time at all, or are more just a cameo than anything. But you won't care because the characters that we do focus on for a majority of the movie are the ones whose fights you want to see immediately. Actually, to be honest, when I saw the main trailer for this movie, I thought they showed little to nothing of what was going to be happening. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, you see these 3 character posters? That's the entire movie. But when it comes to the characters that we do focus on, they all get their big moment to shine to fight the demon that screwed up their lives in some way. Whether it be Shinobu fighting Doma to avenge the death of her sister, to Zenitsu fighting an old acquaintance to avenge his gramps, all these fights are as intense as they are satisfying, and they are what makes this movie the spectacle it is. Honestly, the movie doesn't have a main character as much as each character is the main character of their own respected scene, because Tanjiro and Giyu don't get much focus for a damn good minute. Oh, and speaking of Tanjiro and Giyu, I was so excited for this part.
Let's kick things off, shall we?
Out of all the fights in the movie, the fight between Tanjiro, Giyu, and Akusa is not just the biggest moment of the movie, but it is also the longest fight of the movie, and it takes up a damn good half of the film, and rightfully so because it's everything you've been waiting for with this fight. Most of us have been waiting for this moment since Akusa killed Rengoku, and there is not a moment of this fight that disappoints. It's engaging, fast-paced, entertaining, and like all the other fights, there's never a dull moment. But holy shit! The one thing I was never expecting going into this movie was to find Akusa the most compelling and best character in this thing. I don't want to get too much into it because I do not want to spoil anything, but all I'll say is that you might be having to fight back some tears by the end of this thing because even I started to tear up a little bit. Also, fair warning when we're on that subject, do not go see this movie and The Long Walk back to back. I didn't exactly see them back to back, but I saw them pretty close together, and God, I was a wreck after The Long Walk, which is, out of the 2 films, the more depressing film. Great movie, though. And if you were hoping for even an ounce of humor in this movie, that's almost non-existent. I think I maybe got like 1 chuckle out of the entire thing, but I think that's the point. There's not supposed to be much humor here. I'm not saying this movie is utterly depressing or anything, but God, is it a gut punch. But as for what I can say about Akusa, he is still as much of a threat as he was in Mugen Train, and I seriously never knew where the fight was going to go, and after a while, it really does start to become his movie. Which is funny because I think at some point they originally were going to title it like Infinity Castle, Akuza's Return, or something like that. And kind of like Rengoku and Mugen Train, Akuza is kind of the character that you can follow here even if you've never seen the series at all. But aside from the animation, the action, and the characters, another great aspect of this movie is the sound design. This is a film where you feel every punch, every swing of the sword, and every thud, and the sound really does add to how big and loud the action can get. And this isn't really a shocker when it comes to Demon Slayer, but the movie also has such an amazing score that really elevates the action and the emotion of every single scene, whether it be new pieces of music or ones we've heard before. But I guess if I had even the slightest nitpick with this film, it would have to be that there is a backstory towards the end that, while one of the best parts of the movie, does kind of slow the film down quite a bit, especially since most of the runtime has just been non-stop action. So yeah, the pacing can be a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's honestly not that big a deal, because the backstory in question, just go see the movie to find out. And yeah, that is exactly what you need to do, because when it comes to Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, I'm not just saying this as a fan of the series and the animation genre, but this movie is an absolute masterpiece of cinema. If you love the Demon Slayer franchise, then I don't even have to tell you twice to go see this movie, but if you've never seen Demon Slayer whatsoever, I still highly recommend giving this movie a shot, just for the animation and the spectacle alone. But as for my thoughts on it as a Demon Slayer fan, I think it's safe to say that this so far might be the most compelling, emotional, and breathtaking arc of the series so far. I freaking adored this movie. I'm already planning to go watch it 1 or 2 more times, and I really hope that, fan or not, you go check this one out in theaters on the biggest, loudest screen you can, because it's goddamn great. Go see it! And I'm gonna be giving Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Infinity Castle, Jesus Christ, that is a long title, an A+. Now, this does end up being my favorite movie by the end of the year. This might be the first time where my #1 movie of the year was my #1 most anticipated movie of the year. I think. Don't quote me on that. And if any of you are wondering how Channing Tatum's voice acting was in this, because, yeah, Channing Tatum's in this if you didn't know, he did a pretty good job, but I will say that his voice really does stand out from every other character. Maybe because he's like one of the few characters in this movie that doesn't scream. Seriously, the moment his character starts talking, you're just like, that's Channing Tatum right there. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, turn the notification bell, and while you're at it, go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd at Trev's Movies. And before you go, I do have one question. Who would win in a fight? The Demon Slayers or Huntrix? Let me know down in the comments below who you think would win. And I'll be back later with more videos, and I'll see you then.